Hey everybody, this is Carla R. Jenkins, and welcome to an all new episode of Projectized, my project management show. And this is the Friday before Labor Day, so I wanted to take the opportunity to do this show and add some Labor Day spin to it. So, as you know, labor is very important when it comes to project management. It's part of the project resource management knowledge area, but I'm also want to discuss some things like resource calendars. And a resource calendar is where you have everybody's availability day, including vacation days, when human resources as well as capital or physical resources are available. And this resource calendar will be a very good project management tool to use for this weekend since people will be off. They may have already taken off or probably all of next week off, but it's imperative when you're using project management to focus on this. And I'm also tying it into some of the resources that I have in my store. So, from now until Tuesday, September 3rd, with the code Labor Day, you can get 25% off my entire store at carlarjenkins.com/shop. I'm also going to use this as an opportunity to continually impress upon you, if you haven't already, to consider taking the project management professional exam now rather than wait for the change to occur December 16th. I'm just very big on that, and you have over 3.5 months left. But other things for Labor Day, I'll focus on the triple constraint of time, cost, and scope. So most people have barbecues or get-togethers, and scope is very important. Think of scope as the menu. That's a good way of thinking about it. You have, your barbecue, you have your sides, and the scope is how many people you have over there. So, for instance, say your get together is going to be family and friends, it's going to be 20 people. Well, 20 people takes a certain amount of time to cook all of that food and a certain amount of cost. So, usually what happens is somebody brings somebody. But when you expand from 20 people to 25, the scope increases. And so when the scope increases, the time to cook food probably increases because you probably have to spend more money getting additional food because you didn't plan for that. So that's a way of using Labor Day in project management together. Another thing is I mentioned resource calendars, I mentioned food. I also mentioned the importance of labor to project management. Yes, you have a lot of machine learning, you're hearing a lot about artificial intelligence and robots, but there has to be somebody who does the program, which are humans. And it's very important that even though we program robots, we don't act like robots. Remember, it's very important that at every phase of project management, you step back and you address and you assess what you're doing and whether or not how much effort you have to put into it. So I'm going to borrow something from business analysis, which is called level of effort. As a project manager and a member of the project management team, at each step or each end phase of your project, you have a go or no go decision. If you do decide to go along and continue to the next step or the next phase of the project, you have to also add whether or not you're going to commit the same level of effort, increase or decrease level of effort. And that's extremely important because, as I mentioned, people are critical to project management. And how many people will you need on the project management, and how much of the energy you have to put on project management, which is very important for labor. So, I gave you three things to think about for Projectized and Labor Day. The first thing is resource calendars, which is calendars that have everybody's availability as well as the resources like the computers that you use. So I'm going to give an example of that for Labor Day. Say your specialist has taken off all next week for Labor Day. Have you used a resource calendar for management? You would have had a backup. So when Tuesday, when everyone comes back, when your primary person who's the specialist is away, you have a backup. That's how that works in project management. Number two, I mentioned the Labor Day cookout and how if you do three things for triple constraint, for all the new people who came in here: time, scope, and cost. And I used an example of the Labor Day cookout. If your scope is what's in it, you have 20 people you want to invite there. It takes a certain amount of time to cook the food and it costs a certain amount of money. If people start bringing others and it expands to 25, that increases the scope, which increases the money and the time to get ready because you're getting additional food. And then finally, what I mentioned regarding labor in humans is employing the go, no go for a phase. So at the end of every phase, such as right now, because this is the end of the month, usually you do monthly wrap ups and project management. You set up and you look to see whether or not you're going to keep the same level of effort, increase the level of effort, or decrease the level of effort. So these are the three things for Projectized for Labor Day project management show. I wish everybody a happy, healthy, and happy Labor Day. And as I mentioned before, from now until Tuesday, September 3rd, 2019, you can use the promo code Labor Day to save 25% off the entire store at carlarjenkins.com/shop. That's great. Um, it has everything. There's no selective items. The entire store is off. As I mentioned, we do have project management package in there that contains resource calendar, how to use it, and that's very important. Number two, the thing about it is we also am imploring that right now, if you haven't already, you still have 3.5 months to study and pass the current project management professional certification exam. So do it before the change, December 16, 2019. Once again, this is Carl R. Jenkins, episode of Projectile.